Navy Yard with police officers stopping any vehicle that potentially would be trying to get through for obvious reasons. But you are able to get in on foot. That's what I have done. I've been speaking with a number of people who work inside the Navy Yard. Obviously, a lot of shock right now as they continue to watch this scene unfold. Also, a lot of people just very concerned for their coworkers who are still inside and are reportedly being told to shelter in place, which is a standard protocol, a standard response for the U.S. government in these types of procedures. Obviously, as I'm being told by these eyewitnesses, that their colleagues inside in adjacent buildings are being told to stay in place as basically a SWAT team, or multiple SWAT teams, of course, going from room to room, building to building, as they continue to search for any other active shooters that may be hiding in place.
Kimberly, just confirm for us, because we're hearing that at least 3 gunmen are believed to have been involved in the shooting, one of them perhaps wearing military fatigues. Just confirm for us, it's thought that they could still be inside the complex.
Indeed, that's what, now again, the people I've been speaking to did not actually see the shooting taking place, but they are, it sounds like it, you know, word obviously traveling fast. These are people that are, you know, highly skilled defense contractors, support and administrative staff. So the texting, the emailing communication has been, well, spotty at times, has been fairly constant. So people are communicating. They're saying that, you know, there are people on the inside that report they saw more than one shooter. Again, these are unconfirmed reports. Also that one of them may have been carrying an assault rifle, an AR-15. No reports of just how much ammunition. But again, these are unconfirmed eyewitness reports. And of course, we are endeavoring to find out more from the police who are standing by, but are still in an active situation, so not readily briefing the media.
Yeah, I mean, Kimberly, as you say, dozens of emergency vehicles converging on the site. The pictures we're seeing on our screens are of those first response vehicles there in many of the side streets leading into or leading up to the Naval Yard. Helicopters have also been flying overhead. Extraordinary scenes in the morning rush hour in Washington, D.C.
Well, indeed. In fact, I happen to live in this neighborhood, so I was dropping my child off at school before I became aware that anything was unfolding. I began to see from a number of blocks away from the Navy Yard just an emergency response that I don't typically see. And so, you know, I wasn't fully aware of what was happening. Of course, the Al Jazeera news desk notified me rather quickly, and I diverted my attention. But I can tell you, for parents, and this isn't just a defense contracting area. It isn't just office buildings. People actually live right adjacent to these buildings where this is unfolding. So this is a neighborhood where people take their children to school. There's a school 1 block away from this location with, you know, hundreds of students inside. As a parent, I received an email from my child's school assuring me my child was safe. My child's school is a little bit further along. This is the situation. It's not just you know, people who may be trained for this. It's ordinary, everyday people who are watching this unfold and can't believe their eyes. There are homes located just a block away. This is where people live and they work, and so this is sort of surreal for a lot of them, in some ways, including for myself.
Kimberly, do we know, I mean, how secure this naval establishment actually is?
The establishment itself, the Navy Yard itself, which is it's a kind of a configuration of about 8 buildings, if I can remember offhand. I pass it quite frequently. To get inside would be high-level security. You would need to have some sort of military ID. You would need to have some sort of government-issued ID. This is something where there would be fairly tight security. Having said that, access right up to it is very easy. Again, you know, children are playing soccer just a block away. So, you know, at this point, I can only speculate if somebody had an ID that was able to get in, or if security was breached in some way. Of course, these are the questions that we will have to find out in the coming days. But again, in order to get right up to the Navy Yard, you literally can walk right by. But in order to get access through the gates, you would need some sort of government-issued ID.
Kimberly, as you say, many people in and around the area live there, they work there. I mean, how is this incident with all these emergency vehicles going to impact on the rush hour in D.C., which is, of course, very busy? There's also the local airport there as well.
Indeed, and of course we know that the FAA, at last check, had Reagan National Airport, which is a major airport just across the water here, where you would have U.S. senators coming in, business folks who were coming to do work in Washington, D.C. Of course, that was shut down, and I believe my colleagues would be able to update me on that, but I believe that lockdown remains in place. This is a pretty standard security procedure post September 11th, 2001. The Washington, D.C. area has a pretty rigorous protocol when these sorts of events happen. There's a trigger and ripple effect. And so the Navy Yard, because it is in this very narrow perimeter, I mean, keep in mind, the Navy Yard is essentially located on the neighborhood of Capitol Hill, where the 535 U.S. senators and congressmen are all there with their support staff. So this does generate an enormous response. These buildings are all in very close proximity. It's not just the airport, it's the U.S. Capitol. And there's a concern, obviously, when these sorts of events take place, that there may be some sort of spin-off, as we saw, of course, more than 10 years ago. And so, again, this is, the motives at this point, one can only speculate, and so we'll continue to have to try and find out. If I continue to speak to whoever I can find who's in the area, again, no one is being let out of this building right now. So those who have actually seen what have taken place are not yet out of the building. Right now, the only people I've been able to talk to are the ones who are now feeling quite fortunate to have been late for work and are trying to make some sort of contact with the folks they know inside. I can tell you there are at least 3,000 employees, I'm told by one eyewitness. It does seem a little bit high, but generally I can tell you that there are many, many hundreds who would be working in here at this time of day. It was the start of the workday. It's a Monday, and of course, people anxious to get to work. This would have been a very busy time